I'm ranting and I'm getting real excited about it because I'm just so pumped. Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. So today I'm going to be doing a review of the new Pat McGrath Celestial Odyssey collection. I have got the new Mega Mothership palette and one of the cheek trios. So I'm super pumped to be reviewing these today. I will be doing 2 looks as well as swatches. So if you're interested in this collection, then keep on watching. This is the new holiday collection by Pat McGrath, which is a very luxe, luxury, high-end, high-quality, high price tag brand. So we're gonna, really dive deep into whether it's worth the purchase or not. So the first thing we're gonna be talking about is the eyeshadow palette. I am going to be doing eyes first. So this palette is very similar in terms of like format and packaging to last year's holiday palette. I do actually have last year's as well to show you. So this is the packaging of this year's. As I said, it's called the Celestial Odyssey palette. Super beautiful. Her packaging is like next level. Really, really stunning. Now, this year's seems a little bit better quality than last year. So this is the first kind of comparison. So this is last year's, still really beautiful. I love this palette. But as you can see, the packaging is quite thin and it's cardboard held together with these little, strings. I felt like the quality was pretty good, but obviously not as comparable to her original Mothership palettes, which I don't know if you noticed, these are much cheaper, which I was kind of confused. I'm like, you get more eyeshadow than the original Motherships, but it's for $105 Canadian and the original ones are $170. So I was like, what? Like, why? But I did read somewhere that, some brands do provide cheaper options around the holidays for those that maybe want to get gifts or maybe, just for people that can't afford a $170 palette. So you're able to get a lot of Pat McGrath eyeshadow, but for a little bit more reasonable price. I think $100 was reasonable for this. You get a lot of eyeshadow and they are through and through stunning. I really liked this palette, but as I was saying, you can see that the new one is a little bit better quality. So same idea, still cardboard, still put together, held together with these little strings, but you can see like it's much thicker and it feels and looks a little sturdier. The actual inside here is actually that like shiny plastic, very similar to their original Mothership, whereas last year it was completely cardboard. So I feel like the packaging has been revamped and kind of improved, considering this is same price as last year's and the packaging is better. I'm excited about that. They are 18 Supernova Gemstone inspired shades. They are supposed to be balanced with warm and cool tones. There's 5 finishes. So a satin shimmer, 24 karat duochrome sparkle, foiled metallic, velvet matte, and iridescent sparkle. So first, let's compare it to last year. I really like to do that because, if you got last year's, you might wonder, do I really need this one? So I like to kind of give a comparison for you guys as well. If you actually look at these two up close, last year's had a lot more purple. There was 7 shades out of the 18 were very purpley. And then there was some green, gold, champagne, and then a couple reds. So this year, when you take a look, I do feel like there is more like everyday shades in it. I feel like the mattes are lighter than last year. So last year you got 3 mattes. One was a dark, rich, reddish brown. There was a cool toned plum, and then there was like a lighter kind of rosy pink. I did feel like it was difficult to create a full look. Like it was the type of palette that I typically would go off of for like transition shades and stuff. Or sorry, I would go off of another palette for the transition shades. This one I feel like I could create full looks with. This is warm toned, but you do get a nice lighter brown, a darker kind of chocolatey brown, and then you do get like a warmer toned, like kind of looks rosy, maybe peachy pink. I obviously have to, take a look at these, swatch them, use them and all that. But taking a look at those mattes, I feel like that is much more realistic for what you would need to create not only glam looks, but also everyday looks. And I personally really love to see that. So I think it's going to be more usable for not only people that like to play with color glitz, glam, more experienced users, but also the beginners that maybe want something more simple day to day, like are maybe looking for this palette for something they're going to use every day, but they also want the option for the sparkle. And I think that this palette is just that. From the looks of it, there's enough darkness that you can create a lot of fun, you know, a lot of smoky glam, but it also looks like you could create some really everyday looks, which I think makes a palette that much more valuable if you're going to actually grab it all the time. To be fair though, this year does seem a little bit more warm toned, so you can see there's like a nice coppery orangey. There's a lot of warmth in a lot of these shades. So if you are cool toned, you might not see as many that are for you. So this might not be for those people that are strictly cool toned, but there is also some cool tones. You know, this one seems a little more cool toned, which also seems matte. I think there might be 4 mattes in this palette, so that's really nice. I'm gonna go ahead and create 2 looks, and then I will come back with the cheek palette. Okay, so I have finished creating both looks. We're gonna go ahead and test out the cheek palette before I give my final review. So I'm super pumped about this because I have tried their new blushes that came out in the last few months, but I have yet to try one of their highlights, which are highly, highly rated. So I'm super excited that this comes with a highlight as well. They're called the Divine Blush and Glow Trios. There are two different shade varieties. One in the one that I got is called Galactic Sun. This is, from the looks of it, for the lighter to medium skin tones. The blushes and highlights seem a little bit lighter. And then the darker one is called Amber Allure. Both look beautiful. So it comes with two of the Divine Blush formulas, which I do have one. And I believe it actually might be the same shade as this one, but I really, really love that blush. And the other two were just too dark. So that's okay with me because it's a shade I will use very frequently. And then it also comes with this one right here, which is the shade Desert Orchid, which is a little bit more warm toned. The blushes are really, really pretty. I am familiar with the formula. It actually reminds me of the Clinique Cheek Pop formula, which has been one of my favorite blushes for a while now. And the reason being that the Clinique Cheek Pop, but also this formula, are both very skin-like, very almost virtually powderless. It almost gives you the effect of a cream blush, but the ease of a powder blush. And that's what I love about these. These two shades are absolutely stunning. And then the highlight is supposed to be very silky, very just like finely milled, creamy. It is $70 Canadian. And the blushes and the highlight are both smaller than if you were to buy them individually. But if you buy one of the blushes individually, they're $50 Canadian. So I really think that the value of these are really great as well. Like, you're getting high quality blush and highlight, 3 of them for $70. That's pretty reasonable. So let's go ahead and test these out. So I'm gonna go in with the Divine Rose, which is this cooler toned rosy shade, and I'm going to put it on this side here. I just feel like it's gonna match the eye really well. Like, look at that. Doesn't that just look like it sinks into the makeup immediately? Like, it doesn't look chalky, powdery, patchy. It blends in beautifully. They're like almost go on with like a diffused kind of look to them. So they almost blendable on their own. Like, you barely have to blend. So it's really easy to get a nice, like, beautiful, seamless blend. So stunning. Like, how pretty is that? Just gonna wipe my excess off. I'm gonna go in with this Desert Orchid on this side. I feel like this one will match a little bit better on this side. And I have never used this shade, so I'm really excited to be testing this shade as well. Ooh, that's pretty. And they're like so pigmented and buildable, but they also blend out really easily, so they're kind of foolproof. Oh, that's a lot more pigmented than it looks in the pan. I like that. Like, look at how easy that is to blend all these edges out. Oh, I like that shade. That's a nice, like, peachy, like, warm toned blush. Let's go in with the highlight. Okay, so this kicks up quite a bit, just to warn you guys. That's pretty. The highlight is in the shade Golden Nectar, which looks like a nice golden, I am gonna have swatches at the end of the video, but this is the actual shade swatched. Yeah, it's like a champagne-y golden. That is nice. I understand why everybody loves these highlights, because look at that. It is very seamless. It's very similar to the blush in the sense that it just sinks into your makeup. It doesn't look powdery or dry or patchy. It doesn't emphasize texture. It doesn't look glittery. It literally looks like heaven. That is a pretty highlight. I'm definitely glad I got this cheek palette. A+ already, guys. I definitely recommend this. You know, I'm familiar with the blush, so I had a feeling it was going to be good, but after using this highlight for the first time, I am impressed. Formulas through and through are great, and the colors are really, really pretty. The only thing I would say is if you are super cool toned or super warm toned, like this one is quite cool toned and this one is quite warm toned. Like, if let's say you are really, really cool toned, you might not love this because it's quite warm, and vice versa. But if you are kind of open to playing with different colors when it comes to blush, you will love this. Like, A+. I am so pumped to have this in my collection. Okay, so let's go ahead and now discuss the eyeshadow final thoughts. As you can see, I have created 2 different looks. One a little bit more like, it started out as an everyday look, but I also try to use as many shades as I can when I do these videos, because like, I want to be able to test as much of the palette as possible. I definitely was happy with the mattes for both sides. This side was more like warm toned, whereas this side is quite cool toned. It still has like a warmer undertone though. I feel like this palette is quite warm, but I do feel like there are those pops of cooler tones and some neutrals. Like this brown here is such a beautiful crease shade. It's a neutral chocolatey brown. You could use that for so many different looks. This shade here is really nice and easily blendable, so I was able to create a really pretty look, you know, transitioning. Same with these 2 shades. I felt like they created a really, really nice effect as well. Like I had no issues with the mattes blending out. I like the color scheme. This one is pretty cool toned. This shade here that I used to transition this eye did warm it up a bit because it is quite like peachy. Every matte that I used was pigmented, blendable, rich, and I felt like the shade selection was a little bit better this year, because a lot of the mattes in Pat McGrath palettes, that's been one of my only critiques, is that they only come with 1 or 2 and that they're quite dark. And so for maybe a beginner, it's not really something you would buy as your first palette, because you are then going to need transition shades off of something else. So I like that it's included in this palette. The metallics I used on both sides are stunning. You know, the duochromes are so incredible, light reflective, creamy, honestly everything. I have no complaints whatsoever. I did go in after finishing this eye and kind of add some other shades just to kind of use them and play. The green is really pretty too under the lower lash line. This shade was calling my name, so I popped a little bit on here, a little bit of like a purple green moment, and purple, green, and brown are really pretty together, so I thought it would go well, and it definitely did. I'm super impressed with both sides, and I think that there's so much more you could do. Like there's these darker, almost teal kind of blue shades. You could play up more with this green. You could do even warmer toned look with this. Orangey shades in here. I think there's a gold. Let's just swatch this gold. We have to. I love gold. Oh, look at that. How do you deny that that is not incredible? Oh, look at that. That's just like, literally looks like I have liquid gold on my hand. Should we pop some of it on? Not that I need any more eyeshadow, but let's just put a little bit of gold right here. Oh, wow. Look at that. And I did wet a couple of them, and when you wet the metallics, whether it's metallic, duochrome, they are even more light, reflective, and creamy. Oh, I'm so beyond excited about this palette. A+, both the cheek palette and the eye palette, I definitely recommend. I actually recommend this palette more than I recommend this palette, which by the way, this is discontinued, guys. I didn't know that these palettes were gonna be discontinued, and I'm actually really upset about it, because as much as I think this one's a little bit better, I still love this. And they're so different too that you could, if you have this one, you most definitely can get this one too, because they are drastically different. So I love them both. I honestly am so excited to just go ahead and play with this some more and like come up with some other looks. If you want another tutorial with this, I would be glad to do so for you guys. So yeah, that's my final review. I hope you guys enjoyed, found this video helpful. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned for some swatches of both palettes, up close and personal. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and have a wonderful day, guys. Thanks so much. Bye.